Another topic I want to ask you about is this story today about shadow banning and whether or not certain conservatives are having their Twitter feed shadow banned. Now, you know, this is an idea that's been around for a while, but first of all, why don't you explain to everybody what shadow banning is and how it works?
So shadow banning can be done a couple of different ways on Twitter, at least the allegations go. One of the allegations is that if you tweet something, that it just doesn't show up in people's feed, that even if they're following you, it doesn't show up in their feed because Twitter has essentially downgraded the content that you're tweeting about. The other way that it shows up is you go to search for somebody's account online, and it doesn't automatically fill in the rest of the accounts in the top of the Twitter search bar. That's actually been well substantiated. Vice News, which is not a right-wing outlet, says that this is happening on a routine basis to a lot of folks on the right side of the aisle, but almost never to people on the left side of the aisle. People have a right to be suspicious about the Twitter trends and how Twitter operates its business. They're not transparent when it comes to their logarithms. And because of that, because they're not transparent with regard to the algorithms, it means that any sort of perceived bias is going to be exacerbated tenfold. And even Jack Dorsey, is the head of Twitter, he's acknowledged as much. He says, like, I understand why you guys don't trust me. We're going to have to do better. Well, the only way they're going to do better is if they come fully clean with the American people on how exactly they operate.
Questions have been raised about Ronna McDaniel's account, the head of the RNC, Donald Trump Jr. I saw Sarah Carter, the reporter, suggesting today that, you know, some of what she was sending out there was not being seen. And it's so, I mean, if this is true, it's so surreptitious. The idea that you could be tweeting something and thinking that you're putting it out there, but they're blocking it so that you don't know that it's not out there, but no one is seeing it. So they're trying to basically quench your voice over time and beat you down so that nobody is seeing what you're putting out there anymore. And then they don't listen to you anymore, ultimately.
Well, this is one of the serious problems with social media generally, is that there's just no transparency from the user end. I mean, sometimes they'll change how exactly the information is accessed, and they don't notify you about it. It's not like they say, okay, well, now we've downgraded particular content. You just don't see it anymore. That sort of control from above ought to scare anyone who's engaging in social media.
Ben Shapiro, always good to see you. Thank you very much.
Twitter is under fire this week for allegedly limiting the visibility of prominent Republicans in search results on their site, or it's also called shadow banning, you've heard. President Trump even vowing an investigation, saying this on Twitter. Shadow banning prominent Republicans, not good. We will look into this discriminatory and illegal practice at once. Many complaints. Well, Vice News is reporting that Twitter has fixed the issue, but our next guest's profile was originally affected, and she even sent Twitter a letter 2 months ago asking them to explain their practices. The RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, joins us live. Hey, Ronna, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Ainsley, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I remember we had you on. We had you on with Brad Parscale, who is who's President Trump's campaign manager for the next election. And the two of you said you sent a letter to social media sites asking them to explain why Republicans were being shadow banned and Democrats were not. Did you ever hear back from them?
We didn't. And so we were on your show when we put that letter out because we wanted that public forum because we were concerned about it. Twitter never responded to us. It's only because of this Vice article where they actually proved that prominent Republicans, congressmen, leaders in our party who were verified on Twitter were being blocked from users trying to find their profiles. And then the president tweeting yesterday. And now, of course, they're coming to the table. I think they still have more work to do to clear up why were conservatives being banned. Why are they using shadow banning? And this is important to all of their users, and it's important to our political dialogue that the thought police of Silicon Valley are not determining what voices get through on their social media platforms.
Yeah, you've been on our show complaining about it. Brad Parscale, as I mentioned, has. I know Matt Gaetz was targeted, Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan was just on the curvy couch. He said that he was shadow banned. Diamond and Silk have faced this with Facebook and with Twitter. So now, did they reach out to you last night and say we fixed the problem?
They reached out to us yesterday. We had a conversation with them. They said they didn't understand why it happened. It didn't have to do with us being Republican. It was the behaviors of our accounts. Well, I don't understand that. If it's the behavior of our account, why is it only Republicans that are having this problem? And what type of behavior? I'm a political figure. I don't have really dangerous behavior on my Twitter account, nothing that would prompt them to shadow ban me. So I don't think their explanation is going far enough. And it is very concerning because conservative users are using these platforms. We are paying for advertising on many of these platforms. I want to know, what is your process? Be transparent. You owe that to your users to let us know that our voices will not be suppressed because you don't like what we think.
Well, it's just annoying because if you're putting out a tweet and let's say I wanted to include you in the tweet and I start typing in your name, normally it pops up. And if you're a prominent individual, your name is going to pop up. And that's what's happening. Democrats, their names are popping up. But if I start typing out your name, it doesn't pop up. And that is not only annoying, but it's not fair. And this is what Twitter said. They said, we do not shadow ban. We are aware that some accounts are not automatically populating in our search box and shipping a change to address this. The profiles, tweets, and discussions about these accounts do appear when you search for them. To be clear, our behavioral ranking doesn't make judgments based on political views or the substance of tweets. Is that good enough for you, Rana?
No, I just don't think it's transparent enough because it is only Republicans that this is happening to. My DNC counterpart, it's not happening to him. And as you said, when you type in Ronna McDaniel, fake accounts show up, but not my account, which is verified on Twitter. So I think they need to go further. This is important heading into these midterm elections with the reach that these social media platforms have. They have to address that they are allowing free speech on their platforms and they are not suppressing conservative voices and opinions just because they don't agree with them.
You think they're finally addressing it because the president tweeted yesterday?
I think the president is the biggest user of Twitter. I think he has helped make their platform grow and become even more relevant, and they need to address it. And I think he brought their attention to the problem, and I'm very thankful for President Trump for doing that.
Okay, Rana, thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thanks
Have a good
for having
weekend.
me.
You're welcome.
Facebook is facing fierce backlash after admitting to blocking this pro-gun campaign ad.
Caldwell, I like guns. I love the Second Amendment, and I support our president. That's why I'm endorsed by the NRA. I'm Matt Caldwell, and that's all there is to it.
Facebook has since apologized, but is this part of a bigger problem?
Florida State Representative Matt Caldwell posted the ad, and he says, yes, it is part of a bigger problem. He joins us live to react now this morning. Matt, thanks so much for coming on. Were you shocked to see that this thing got pulled?
Absolutely, I was shocked. I mean, here we're talking about basic American values, the Second Amendment, supporting gun rights, supporting President Trump. How in the world does that possibly qualify for censorship? And, you know, the real disappointing fact is we asked for it to be reviewed, took nearly an entire day to get a response, and we only did get a response because we called them out in the media for it. And here we are in the throes of a campaign. We're 5 weeks out from our primary election here in Florida. We're losing precious hours when we want to be able to tell voters about our support for the president, about our endorsement by the NRA. But what about private citizens? How does a private citizen get these kind of issues resolved? They don't have the opportunity really to get the press to elevate this and put it in their face and force Facebook to deal with the question. It really is disappointing. And you know, you look at the things we want to continue to highlight. You know, we've got Senator Marco Rubio, Congressman Matt Gaetz. They've endorsed me. If I put that out there, are they too controversial, or are they going to be the reason that our next ad gets censored? It's really an outrageous situation they've created here.
So you said you did hear back from Facebook after about a day. What did Facebook have to say? And since then, have you made sure that your ad is running?
Our ad is running. We have made sure of that. And they apologized. They said it was not supposed to be flagged. But really, what's the answer there? You know, they've got a policy where you're not allowed to potentially sell ammunition or guns. I mean, this is a fundamental constitutional right. Even crazy California in the Ninth Circuit, they overturned the ammo ban last week in California and just said that open carry is constitutional under the Second Amendment throughout the whole country. You look at a state like Vermont, their senator is Bernie Sanders, and they don't have gun laws. So the fact that this is already on the list for Facebook to go ahead and flag and catch anybody's expression of their belief in the Second Amendment is outrageous. You know, why don't they have restrictions on abortion advertisers? I mean, that's something that's an actual serious problem every single day in this country. And I think it just shows that there's a bias at the very core in terms of what can be advertised and when it can be advertised.
Well, here's the reaction from Facebook. Here's their comment. We review millions of ads each week, and sometimes we make mistakes. We have overturned the incorrect decision, and the ads are now running live on Facebook. Matt, it takes an army of people. I mean, Facebook is enormous to check all of these ads. It sounds like it's very possible that one very liberal person maybe saw your ad and said, you know what, I'm just going to pull this. What do you think?
Well, and that certainly could have been the case. You know, we didn't get the details behind the curtain of what really happened. But I think this is back to my original point a second ago. You know, they automatically are going to flag anything that has to do with the Second Amendment. You review the ad rules for posting, and it's likely that anybody that shares a view on the Second Amendment. You know, we've got here in Florida this last week, a colleague of mine in the Florida House, they posted a job to work for a Republican. Just the fact that it said Republicans seemed to be the trigger that got it pulled and taken down. They had to go appeal that. We've got another conservative African-American gun rights supporter who does videos on how to talk about the Second Amendment and what we should focus on. He continually gets censored by YouTube, by Facebook, by all these different organizations, and I think it goes to the core. As I said, you've got other controversial issues. You know, from my perspective, I'm 100% pro-life. It's one of the reasons we've got support from folks like Marco Rubio. But, you know, how do you justify that?
Well, it seems like a period in time where a lot of these companies have a lot to figure out right now. Matt Caldwell, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.